Hello and welcome to another edition of High School Roundup. It's the playoff edition of High School Roundup today, as I'm your host, Anthony D'Agostino, and alongside me as my esteemed panel of analysts, the dynamic duo of Matthew Hagee and Zach Prosba.
It's pretty fun. Gonna cover the first round today. Look ahead to the, I guess we could call the quarterfinals of the playoffs before we have our last show next week. So, gonna really start delving into who we think may make it all the way to Highlands this year.
And there's some great matchups this week, but we have a couple highlights from some games that put together some excellent plays.
It really was. It was an amazing week for highlights. And looking at the first game we're going to have highlights of, it's Chartiers Valley at Belle Vernon. And Matt, you had the highlights for this one.
Oh, yeah, I took a little trip back to the good old Gold Turf in Rostraver Township at James Weir Stadium, as we'll take a look at the highlights here. 2 versus 15 matchup between Belle Vernon and Chartiers Valley. Chartiers Valley from the Parkway Conference. And Belle Vernon starts out early right here on their first drive of the game. Mike Fine, the all-world quarterback who's been the catalyst of this Belle Vernon undefeated regular season. Fine goes in from 33 yards out. The kick got blocked. The extra point got blocked. So it's 6-0. Now watch this play here. Mike Samanchik for Belle Vernon deflects it back to the quarterback, Jake Collins. He goes back to Samanchik, who runs the interception back to the 1-yard line. An incredible interception, which sets up on the next play here. Ben Cole, easy 1-yard touchdown run. Belle Vernon would convert on a 2-point conversion to make it 14-0. But Chartiers Valley wouldn't go away here. Jake Collins here, 14-yard pass to Joe Antonucci, avoiding the Belle Vernon defender and the railings there in the photo to make it 14-7 in Chartiers Valley. They wouldn't go away. But then on the ensuing kickoff, Derek Verklieren, who, we've been seeing here on High School Round the past 3 years, takes the kickback 75 yards for the touchdown to make it 21-7 Belle Vernon. A great kickoff return. He also ran a kickback against Elizabeth Ford. And Derek Verklieren, again, look at that slide, like a second going into the second base right there, make it a 5-yard pass. And then Phil Taylor here, watch him go. Remember Laurel Highlands, he had a top play over an end around. And here, oh my goodness, watch this. It's even better than the Laurel Highlands one. This time, 76 yards, breaking tackles, we got tackled at the 1-yard line. That set up a Belle Vernon score to make it 36-7. And in the second half, that's all the scoring was in the first half. Just the fumble here. Dominic Pochi, the Chartiers Valley running back, 3 turnovers on the night for Chartiers Valley. And you can see right here from the James Weir Stadium scoreboard, 36-7 Belle Vernon, undefeated on the Gold Turf this season. That's the last game they'll be on the Gold Turf this season. And next up, a familiar foe that Belle Vernon's ran into in the Whitfield playoffs in the past couple years, Franklin Regional at Norwin High School this Friday.
And that'll be a very close game. And if you're around the Pittsburgh area, go to Norwin High School, see a football game. Belle Vernon Franklin Regional should be a really good one. We actually have another highlight. We usually don't wait. We usually wait until the next session after our break to do highlights. But we have 3 highlights today, so we're going to do another set of highlights. It's Laurel Highlands this time, and they took on a big foe there. And Zach, you have the highlights for this one.
Yeah, they got a rematch with Central Valley, who they took on in the first round last season as well in the playoffs. So Laurel Highlands going in as the 16 seed against the 1 seed Central Valley. We'll go ahead and start rolling the highlights here and get to action in CV. First play here, Chris Callahan, a 71-yard pass to Eris Tedilovich for the touchdown. And you're going to see much more of the same here. Jimmy Pierce, though, Laurel Highlands on offense, deflected from Livingston to Kurt Reinstadler, who turns it 32 yards for the score. And then Callahan, this time Ryan Stadler on offense, a 60-yard bomb downfield. Look at the spiral on that throw all the way downfield. Defender there, but no match. The CV's up 21-0, and then Kyle Vreen, a 57-yard touchdown run, make it 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. So Central Valley really rolling. Now, Laurel Highlands here, they do get on the board. Lucas Boyd on a little bit of a pitch to the outside, a strong side. Go down the field, 30-yard run for the Laurel Highlands score. Central Valley, they can run the ball as well. Danny Santia, 9-yard touchdown run. And then Callahan through the air again, a screen pass this time to Tadilovich, 46-yard catch and run down the field. Kind of looked like Gary Brown here, Cal U, the way he made some moves there. And we'll see Kyle Vreen, he had a 57-yard touchdown run before. This one puts him 91 yards on 2 total touchdown runs. Look at the moves he's making on this one now. Evading defenders, going back to the opposite side of the field. Only a 34-yard touchdown run, but he had to run close to 60 yards just to get that score. And then with 3 seconds left in the half, Central Valley attempts a 38-yard field goal. It's up and good. 52-7 halftime, Central Valley. And then the third quarter, Nico Battisti, a 12-yard run. Lucas Boyle, he adds a 5-yard run for Laurel Highlands to make it 59-14. And that will be your final scores. Laurel Highlands, a great beginning of the year, just started really crumbling as the year progressed. And Central Valley, they're number 1 seed in AAA for a reason. They show right there with that big 45-point victory.
And they really do. And it's Laurel Highlands kind of drew the short end of the stick there, where they picked the number 1 team basically in that division and couldn't handle them. And you see why Central Valley is number 1. Just huge play there. So we're going to move into the bracket now, AAA bracket. Take a look at the scores we have. Central Valley, we already saw that, defeating Laurel Highlands 59-14. Close game here between the 8 and 9 seeds. Montour taking on Hampton. And the number 9 Hampton comes away with the victory, 19-14. Then Mars took on Newcastle. Close game, and Newcastle kept it close, but Mars come away with a 17-14 victory. And then we saw
that was a reverse. I screwed up on the graphic. It's 35-0 Ringgold.
35-0 Ringgold. So it's all good. Ringgold wins that 35-0 over Ambridge's 5 seed beating the 12 seed. And which of these games was a really good game to pick out and analyze?
Well, I'll tell you what, honestly, Ringgold getting that 35-0 win, it was very close early on. But Ringgold, seeing something from their defense that we really haven't all year, a shutout against a pretty decent Ambridge team. So Ringgold advancing, they're going to get the Fighting Planets from Mars in this next round. And Mars, very close to Newcastle. I think Ringgold is going to continue rolling on.
Well, and Mars in that game, I'll tell you, looking up some things, Newcastle had a weird officiating call go against them that prevented them from taking the lead against Mars there and getting the big 4-13 upset there. But Mars, this team is pretty experienced in the playoffs, and Ringgold's going to have their hands full going out of the conference to really play. This is probably one of the best teams Ringgold's going to get all season.
And moving on to the right side now, Belle Vernon and Chartiers Valley, 36-7 victory for Belle Vernon. And then Franklin Regional taking on West Mifflin's Carlin Garner and his team, beating West Mifflin 49-7. Big win for the Franklin Regional team. And then the number 3 West Allegheny team took on the 14th-seeded Hollidaysburg, came away with a 28-8 victory. And Thomas Jefferson, who we've seen before, the number 6th-seeded team, winning 42-7 over Armstrong. And which game out of here do you like going into the next round?
Well, mentioned it already, Belle Vernon and Franklin Regional here. This is going to be a great game. This is where Belle Vernon's defense is going to get a true test, because Belle Vernon struggled against teams in Franklin Regional's conference. They lost to Franklin Regional last time they faced in the WPIL playoffs, but I think possibly this could be the year where Belle Vernon makes a run, because watching them again on Friday, that team is uberly improved since the first week of the season when they played Trinity.
And I have to look, maybe not the game between West A and TJ coming up. West Allegheny, they honestly were very close to possibly losing against Hollidaysburg in Hollidaysburg's final game in the Whippeal. It was tied at 0 at halftime. And we all came in last week and thought West A was going to run straight through Hollidaysburg, and they didn't. Now, setting up that matchup with TJ, I honestly think TJ's the favorite as the 6th seed right now, the way they've been playing over the last 8 or so weeks.
And then last year, West Allegheny crushed Thomas Jefferson. I was at that game. I mean, that game was over after the first play of the game when West A scored. But I think this Thomas Jefferson team's more equipped to hang with West Allegheny.
And that's actually a pick-up game, as we'll get to that in the coming breaks, this last segment of the show. But moving on to the Quad A bracket now. On the left side, Woodland Hills took on Hempfield and came away with a pretty solid victory, 41-7. And the 8 and 9 seed Bethel Park took on Kiski, one of our pick'em games, I believe, 34-26 in favor of Bethel Park. Then North Allegheny took on Norwin and annihilated them 56-17. Central Catholic taking on Upper St. Clair and winning 49-0. And which game out of here was not necessarily surprising, but a good game nonetheless?
I'm going to go with Bethel Park and Kiski. Kiski, unfortunately, they lost, but all throughout the season, we were quite surprised with their level of play. And even though they lost this first-round matchup, I think it shows that they were a good team this year, that they held Bethel Park within 8 points, and Kiski was up at some points in that game. So I think we all need to go back and send a congratulatory clap to them after showing that they are a good team and proving us wrong, even though we kind of doubted them throughout the season.
Well, and then that game, Bethel Park was up by 3 scores at one point. Kiski came all the way back to come within 2 points, 28-26, and Bethel Park took the lead right there. But Upper St. Clair, oh how the mighty have fallen, 49-0 to Central Catholic. This Central Catholic team looks great. And I picked Woodland Hills to win Quad A. I might be reconsidering that because Woodland Hills only was up 14-0 against Hempfield at halftime. So that Hempfield, as a 16 seed, played Woodland Hills pretty well. They just snuck into the playoffs.
And we'll see how the left side of the Quad A bracket shapes up next week. As we move to the right side of the Quad A bracket, Penn Trafford took on North Hills, and Penn Trafford came away with that pretty solid victory. We've seen them before this season, the regular season. They won 56-7. And McKeesport taking on Seneca Valley, getting the shutout 48-0 over Seneca Valley. Then Pine Richland taking on Penn Hills, coming with a solid victory 42-7. And then Mount Lebanon taking on Plum, breaking my heart again. The Plum, come on, man. 42-28. Mount Lebanon wins the game. And which game are you guys looking at for this next coming up week in the right side of the bracket?
There's only one choice. Penn Trafford, McKeesport. And Matt, I think you're going to agree with me because that's a matchup we've seen already this year where Penn Trafford came out on top. Now that you're in the playoffs, McKeesport, they are on a winning streak ever since Penn Trafford beat them. That's the only loss McKeesport had. I really think McKeesport is going to have a much better chance of coming out with a victory this week over the 2 seed Penn Trafford.
Well, McKeesport's been playing great football the past couple of weeks. Their defense has really stepped up. In that game, funny, when they beat Seneca Valley, I was impressed to begin with. They used their air raid, which is far-fetched because basically they do is run that wishbone offense and that running game. So maybe if they can start opening that pass game, have success against Penn Trafford, that's going to be key because Brett LaFoon and Tim Vecchio is a dynamic duo that is tough to stop. And McKeesport's had problems with them the last couple of years. I believe they've lost 3 in a row to them.
And we've seen, as I said before, we've seen Penn Trafford when they took on Connellsville, and Vecchio was the blue ribbon player in our top 3 plays for a while because of his defense. So we'll see if his defense can hold on against McKeesport. We're going to take a quick break. We have the AA first round highlights to get with Beaver versus Mount Pleasant, and then we have all your AA scores and single A scores and brackets coming out as well. Stay tuned for more on High School Roundup here on CUTV.
Complete news, entertainment, and sports coverage from around the area, region, and nation is found right here on CUTV News Center every Thursday at 5 p.m. with anchors Jennifer Germano, Zach Prosba, entertainment with Mike Mays, and sports with Matt Hagee. Follow us on YouTube, CUTV News Center, and on Twitter, CUTV_PA, for your complete rebroadcast of your Vulcan sports. News Center airs every Thursday at 5 p.m. on Armstrong and Atlantic Broadband.
Hello and welcome back to High School Roundup, and we're just moving forward now to AA. We actually have highlights. I went to the Beaver Mount Pleasant game where Beaver going to Mount Pleasant, and it was a really huge game for both of these teams. As we take a look at the highlights from Mount Pleasant, you see the Mount Pleasant fans at the beginning of the game chanting, "I believe that we will win," with some white powder in there. It looked really cool. And then Chris Wagner going right up the middle, 3-yard touchdown run. Ensuing kickoff. Little squib kick goes to Darius Wise, number 2 for Beaver. Makes some men miss, just running right up the field, zigzagging like you're playing Madden, and just zooms right past everyone for the 85-yard kickoff return for the touchdown. And then Mount Pleasant, Jake Newell, going on the outside, breaking a few tackles. He's got some room to run, as it's a 35-yard run, but this only sets up a field goal. Couldn't score the touchdown. End of the first quarter, 10-7 in favor of Mount Pleasant. Then Chris Wagner, finds a huge hole up the middle, cuts it back again, breaks some more tackles, and he has a man get blocked there. Chris Wagner, 72 yards, sets up this play. Kyle Holterman, 5-yard run, diving into the end zone, just barely gets the ball across. As now you see Beaver. Darius Wise, the quarterback, you saw him kick return as he zigzags a few more people. It looks like he's playing Madden again with a 14-yard run. Then in the ensuing kickoff, Kyle Halterman is going to go to the outside, coming right at me as I'm on the sideline, and he is going all the way untouched. 35-yard kickoff return. And then Beaver, Darius Wise yet again, so fast. Mount Pleasant can't even get a hand on him. 14-yard run. Mount Pleasant up 24-21 as Beaver comes out looking for a comeback after halftime. Beaver starting it off. Darius Wise breaking a few men. Spin move, and he's going to go to the outside and breaking another man and finally gets taken down. It's a 51-yard run, sets up a touchdown. Beaver kicks the field goal. Looked like it was no good, but the refs say it was. 28-yard field goal. As you see Darius Wise yet again, it's the Darius Wise show all the time today. 35-yard touchdown run. Now Mount Pleasant looking to try to come back here. Throws it to Kenny Peacock, and the ball gets stripped away. Beaver falls onto it, squashing Mount Pleasant's hopes of scoring on the drive. Johnny Yester, this time looking deep, gets picked off by Seth Pittner, which then sets up this Beaver touchdown later. Darius Wise capitalizes on Jenny Yester's error and throws a 34-yard pass to Landon Pantoli. Beaver comes back in the second half to win 45-24, and Beaver just completely destroyed the Mount Pleasant team in the second half. And I overheard one of the assistant coaches talking when they came down with a tablet. They saw the video and they could clearly see that when they ran the ball with Darius Wise, there was no way that Mount Pleasant was going to be able to stop him because of the defense that Mount Pleasant was running. So perfect coaching for this Beaver team to be able to come out in the second half and just completely run, just do a great job like that.
Yeah, Darius Wise, oh my goodness, that kid is unbelievable. I don't know what year he is, but I think he's going to start getting some attention from local schools. The way because you can see there, he can kick return. He's the quarterback, and he's one of those big athlete guys that a lot of schools are looking for.
And a name we've not actually seen before on the show this year, a very fresh face to the program, and glad to see the talent there. And this is not the first time we've seen Mount Pleasant kind of fall away in the second half. They did the same thing against Washington when we had that game too.
And Washington was just another good team that Mount Pleasant faced. So looking now at the AA bracket on the left side, South Fayette took on Burgettstown and won 63-6. And you saw Mount Pleasant taking on Beaver at Mount Pleasant, 24-45. The upset win for Beaver. And then the other Beaver team, Beaver Falls, taking on Apollo Ridge, taking the victory 33-29. Very close game. Apollo Ridge keeping it close. Then the number 5 Steel Valley team, local Stephen Ruffing, that went to that school. Hearing him clapping in the studio. Steel Valley comes away with a big victory, 49-7 over New Brighton. And how about this Beaver Falls Apollo Ridge game?
Yeah, and honestly, Apollo Ridge should have won this game. I checked the scores, and I was texting Matt, and I even told him, AR is going to beat Beaver Falls. I think Apollo Ridge was up like 10 points with like 2 minutes left. I look back, Beaver Falls won. What happened? I still don't even know what happened, but Beaver Falls was very lucky to get out of the first round.
Well, and just imagine this. They're going to have a tough task with the Steel Valley Ironmen this week. Dwayne Murray, over 4,000 yards. He's only a junior, by the way. He's only a junior, so they're going to see a lot more of him in the next couple of weeks. I think Steel Valley is an excellent chance to win that game with Beaver Falls.
And looking at the right side of the bracket, number 2 Aliquippa took on Keystone Oaks, coming away with the victory 42-26. Then Highlands took on Seton LaSalle, and Seton LaSalle comes away with the upset victory, 27-14. Then Deer Lake's taking on Washington. Washington, we've seen them in the little practices, just winning 52-7 over Deer Lakes. And then Freeport taking on McGuffey. Freeport coming away with the 45-6 victory. But how about this upset win, Seton LaSalle over Highlands?
Yeah, it's Seton LaSalle. I thought for one point Highlands won this game, but I found out yesterday that they didn't. But Seton LaSalle, because Highlands had the lead going on there. But Seton LaSalle, interesting game here with Aliquippa, because Aliquippa might be without the services of Kazon Pugh, their big running back. I mean, he's quite listed as questionable. Without Kazon Pugh, that Aliquippa team, they have a lot of weapons around it. But Kazon Pugh makes that team go. And if they don't have Kayson Pugh, they're in trouble.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely on a collision course between Wash and Aliquippa. And right now, the way that these teams looked in the first round, I think Washington is the clear favorite. Aliquippa, I know they lost Kayson Pugh, and it may have affected the result a little bit. But that score against Keystone Oaks, that's not that impressive to me. I think Aliquippa has a lot more to show before I think they can make it out of that side.
And now taking a look at the single A bracket on the left side, Clairton taking on Carmichael's, winning 70-6. Best Center taking on Avonworth. Avonworth coming with the upset victory, 28-12 over Best Center. And then Fraser taking on Southside Beaver, just squeaking away with the victory, 33-32 with the Commodores. And then Shenango taking on Springdale, coming away with the victory, 23-10 was Shenango. We've seen Fraser team really do well this year, but they took on Southside Beaver and almost lost.
And it's the first time a Tri-County South team has won in the playoffs in 5 years. So good for Fraser to get that win. It looked very bleak as they entered the fourth quarter, but Fraser had a big comeback. The defense, they gave up 2 less points than they had given up all season long, so they need the defense to get back to where they were at before this game. And they have a tough matchup with Shenango. Fraser definitely the underdog, but if their offense can continue rolling and the defense gets a little better, they could win.
Yeah, and Fraser, they need, I think the Tri-County South is like, thank you, you won. You finally have some respect, because Best Center, again, another first-round loss, and so ends the career of Anthony Welsh. What a career that was for Avonworth. That Clairton-Avonworth game, that was the single A final last year, and now it's in the quarterfinals, but Clairton, I think, Clairton's the team to beat.
And they really are, and kudos to Fraser. Fraser, this was their team to make it in the farther in the playoffs, Tri-County South. As we look at the right side of the bracket, we have CWNC winning 35-7 over Union. Bishop Canavan taking on GCC, coming with the victory, 35-28. Jeanette over Chartiers Houston, 27-7. And then Neshannock falling to
They didn't. No, they didn't. I screwed up again.
Neshannock winning over Bentworth, 49-13. So big game there. Which game do you think is going to be big in this next round of the playoffs?
I'll tell you what, honestly, Neshannock Jeanette, because Jeanette, they struggled with Chartiers Houston early on. I think that game was tied at 7 at halftime, and Jeanette maybe taking Chartiers Houston a little too lightly. And Neshannock is a good 6th seed and could potentially upset the Jayhawks in this next coming round.
I was a little disappointed by Greensburg Central Catholic losing to Bishop Canavan, but Bishop Canavan's going to have their hands full with Cardinal World North Catholic, who's a team that, if it's not Clairton, it'll probably be Cardinal World North Catholic at Heinz Field.
And we'll see how that pans out. We're going to take another quick break, but coming up, we have our playoff pick'ems and our top 3 plays. It's going to be a very interesting top 3 plays today. Don't miss it. Stay tuned for more here on High School Roundup on CUTV.
Save preset 1 for Cal U's best music. More music in the car, more music in the door, more music everywhere. This is 91.9 WCAL Power 92. The home of the Vulcan Nation, playing Cal U's best music. 91.9 WCAL. WCAL Power 92.
First published in the 1880s, the California Times is the oldest student media at California University. Circulating 3,000 issues weekly on campus and in the surrounding community, the Times' mission is to deliver fair and balanced news to the student population of California University. All students are welcome to be a part of the California Times. Our offices are located in the Natali Student Union. Keep up to date with the Times online at www.caltimes.org, Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.
And welcome back to High School Roundup. Here you see the pick'em standings right now. Zach is on top, 34-11, and I'm on the bottom, 28-17.
It's your first year.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an adjustment period.
But, you know, we had some interesting pick'em games this past week, so we're going to go and look at those. As we see, our first pick'em game is McKeesport at Penn Trafford. I'm the only one going with McKeesport.
Why?
And here's the reason. McKeesport, Penn Trafford's got a good team, but I think McKeesport, they have a really good shot at winning, but I also need to make up some ground. So
Fair enough.
McKeesport team's been a really solid team so far this season, so I think they have a really good shot at winning. as we take a look at the next pick'em game, Franklin Regional at Belle Vernon. I'm going with Franklin Regional. So another
I'm
surprise.
assuming, again, just for purposes of making them ground.
Yeah, this was tough. This was tough to
Yeah.
pick because I was really torn between. That's just probably of all the picks. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. The next game is the one I was really torn. But Franklin Regional here has a good chance to take out Belle Vernon. But Belle Vernon just looks so good after I watched them. I was really impressed.
But like you've said before, they have struggled with Franklin
Yes, they
Regional.
have.
And
In that conference.
maybe this is the one week where Belle Vernon, the Cinderella story kind of ends. Yeah. We'll see.
It's a show me something game for Franklin Regional as we move on to the next pick'em, TJ versus West Allegheny, and we differ here a little bit. Gary going with West Allegheny, and so is Matt. Me and Zach going with TJ. And Zach, why did you go TJ in this one?
Because Thomas Jefferson has been a completely different team ever since they got their quarterback after missing the first 2 games with an injury. Since then, they have not lost. They've been dominant in every game they've played, and they will take down West Allegheny, who seems to be kind of rattled after losing their last game of the year against Central Valley, and then having a very tough contest with Hollidaysburg. I think the Jaguars are moving forward.
Well, I picked West Allegheny to win AAA this year, but I'm regretting that. But I think Thomas Jefferson has an excellent chance. I think Thomas Jefferson has been impressive. They are the hottest team right now in AAA. Like I said that last week. They are on fire, and it's not about being the best overall team in the regular season. It's about who's hot at the right time. Thomas Jefferson Jaguars are. But just last year, West Allegheny steamrolled them, and they beat them the last two. The last 2 times West Allegheny's won against Thomas Jefferson, so I went with West Allegheny.
And moving on to the next pick, we have Freeport at Washington. We all picked Washington. We've seen them before. We've seen them play. So moving into the next item, Shenango at Fraser. We all think Fraser's going to fall to Shenango, and most likely that's because Fraser could just squeak out a victory over Southside Beaver.
Yeah, I think Fraser's magic worked for 1 week. Shenango, a much better team than Southside Beaver. I think Fraser has a chance, but they'll probably fall within a good touchdown, 10 points out of this game.
Yeah, and moving on, we have the top 3 plays. Matt, you have our number 3 play.
Yeah, we're going to go to Mount Pleasant for this one. We're going to start with the guy we were talking about, Darius Wise. And you'll notice here a theme in our top 3 plays because this play is just unbelievable. You can't leave. Look at that spin move there, breaking tackles. I don't know how he did not score on this play. Credit the tackle right there, but that play was just too good not to leave, not let out.
And then coming up at number 2 for the Belle Vernon game, you have the run here, Philip Taylor all the way down the field. And, unfortunately, kind of like Matt's play, didn't get a touchdown on this play. It just set up a score, but a great run. Hard to keep that out of our top 3 plays.
And our number 1 play coming from Laurel Highlands, it's Kyle Green, where he goes to the outside, cutting back, breaking a tackle there, almost gets tackled, but cuts his field back and runs basically 49 yards the other way to get the 34-yard touchdown run. Just a huge play for Kyle Green. Does that unseed Fraser? No, it doesn't. This won a conference championship and got them to where they were last week. Just a huge play, something we haven't seen before in a long time. That will stay our blue ribbon play this week. But something we haven't seen in a very, very long time where 2 out of the 3 top plays weren't touchdowns. We usually go with touchdowns, but this time 2 plays were spectacular but didn't score.
You can't leave him out. You can't leave him out. That's the thing, and it's great to see that because, it doesn't need to be a touchdown to be a spectacular play. It's still a spectacular play. It was tough because I was cutting him through. That Mike Samanchik interception was incredible. I was standing on top of the press box at Belle Vernon. I almost fell off it after.
And next week, since next week is our final show of the season, we're going to have top 10 plays of the year. And right now, Fraser coming in there with the blue ribbon, you have to expect they'll be number 1. But what's 2 through 10? Vecchio, I'm sure, is going to be in there. So we're going to see next week.
There were other plays, you saw the highlights from these 3 games that didn't make our top 3 plays that are definitely going to be looked at for the top 10 plays of the year because they were just spectacular. They just couldn't make our top 3 plays. We had to choose between something there. So that'll do it for this edition of High School Roundup. Thanks for watching our show. If you have anything you want to tweet at us, tweet us at CUTV_PA, hashtag High School Roundup. We'd love for you to tweet us out, and we may mention it on our show next week as it's our final show. I hate to say it, but final show for you two, Matt and Zach, our dynamic duo of analysts. It's been a great ride, guys. I can't wait for this last high school football show.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a kind of bittersweet, but it's always fun talking about the chase to get to Heinz Field and see. I think this is the week you could see some big upsets.
Oh, definitely, in our penultimate show. But we won't have any highlights for any games next week. But still, you best believe we'll be breaking them all down as best we can.
Well, thanks again for watching this edition of High School Roundup. For Zach Prosba, for Matt Hagee, I'm Anthony D'Agostino. Until next time, thanks for watching.